Y'all know we love to roast our guy Tony Buzbee over here. Shout out to Tony Buzbee. He is now under fire again when it comes to this lawsuit that Jay-Z filed against him and Jane Doe. So what's happening? So obviously we know Tony Buzbee and Jane Doe, they went in on this lawsuit together. They said, we're going to go after Jay-Z. Jay-Z disputed the lawsuit. Not only did he do that, he fought against it. He tried to get it to dismiss. The judge said, we're not going to dismiss it. So then more information started to come out. Jane Doe said, hey, I don't want any of this smoke. We'll just let it go. Jane Doe dismisses it. Now Jay-Z is countersuing in a lawsuit against Jane Doe and Tony Buzbee for defamation. And we've talked about the amount that Jay-Z has lost as a result of this lawsuit. He's alleging it's millions and millions of dollars, which is not going to be good for y'all's guy, Tony Buzbee. So now what's going on? Tony Buzbee, and shout out to Cat Not Williams for dropping this over on X as well. Tony Buzbee, Forney, and the Buzbee law firm have filed a motion to dismiss Carter versus Buzbee. All right. And this was the one that was filed in Alabama, Cat says, where Jane Doe is also named as a defendant. Included, and she's got the affidavit here from David Forney. What is he saying? The state of Texas, in the county of Harris, Texas, says, before me, the undersigned notary, on this day personally appeared David Forney, a person whose identity is known to me. After I administered an oath to the affidavit, he testified as follows. Here we go. My name is David Forney. I am over 21 years old, of sound mind, and capable of making this affidavit. The facts stated in this affidavit are within my personal knowledge and are true and correct. I am a resident of the state and citizen of the state of Texas. I have personal knowledge to the matters forth below because I was personally involved in the events described herein. And because I am an attorney with Anthony G. Buzbee, Tony Buzbee, LP, and the Buzbee law firm. I also have personal knowledge because I worked on Mrs. Doe's case during the firm's representation of her. Might be in trouble. At all relevant times alleged in this complaint, I have reviewed and am familiar with the allegations made by Carter in the complaint. Neither I nor Tony Buzbee nor the firm ever solicited in Alabama or anywhere else to represent Jane Doe. The firm was referred Mrs. Doe's case by the AVA Law Group, which we've heard they've got their own issues going on right now, with whom Doe signed up online. No defendant met with Mrs. Doe in Alabama before the lawsuit alleged in the complaint was filed in the Southern District of New York. This is completely contradictory to what Tony Buzbee said, because didn't Tony Buzbee say that they completely vetted her? I got to read this again. No defendant. So he's saying not the Tony Buzbee law firm, not Tony Buzbee, not David Forney, met with Jane Doe in Alabama before the lawsuit alleged in the complaint was filed in the Southern District of New York. Wow. Or before the lawsuit was amended to name Carter specifically. So he said everything was done before they even met with Jane Doe. Is that what we're saying here? This is insane. No defendant met with Mrs. Doe in Alabama before the demand letter referenced in the complaint was drafted or sent. I traveled to Alabama only twice for any purpose related to the facts alleged in the complaint, and each trip took place after the New York lawsuit had been filed, after Carter had been named specifically in the lawsuit, and after the demand letter had been sent. This is so confusing. I first traveled to Alabama after the NBC interview alleged in the complaint. So they didn't talk to her until after Tony Buzbee met with her for the first time when he met with her in Texas for the NBC interview. Okay. I first traveled to Alabama after the NBC interview alleged in the complaint, and then again before the New York lawsuit was dismissed. On both occasions, I met with my client, Mrs. Doe. Tony Buzbee never traveled to Alabama for any reason related to Mrs. Doe or the allegations in the complaint. Colby Haller, an associate with the firm, flew to Alabama once to escort Ms. Doe back to Texas after Carter's investigations found her at her residence. as we wanted to provide Mrs. Doe with a measure of security. Yeah, right. Holler's trip to Alabama was after the New York suit had been filed, after Carter had been named in it, and after the demand letter was sent or had been sent. As the complaint notes, Tony Buzbee first met Mrs. Doe in Houston, not Alabama. Okay. I was present at the meeting. No defendant other than Mrs. Doe resides in Alabama, has an office in Alabama, owns property in Alabama, is licensed to do business or practice law in Alabama, has employees in Alabama, or is involved in any other lawsuits in Alabama as counsel for the party. No court appearances by the defendant for Mrs. Doe ever occurred in Alabama. So that's why they're trying to get this dismissed. No defendant advertised or solicited for clients in Alabama. The demand letter alleged in the complaint was sent from Texas to Reed Smith's attorney for Carter in New York. The letter was not sent to or from anyone in Alabama. The NBC interview alleged in the complaint did not occur in Alabama. That is true. No part of the drafting or filing of the New York lawsuit occurred in Alabama. None of the legal work done by myself, Tony Buzbee, or the firm ever performed with the intent to affect Carter in Alabama, where he is, per the complaint, not a resident. None of the firm's communications with Carter or his counsel took place in Alabama or were directed to Alabama. Neither I nor Tony Buzbee nor the firm ever used or invoked the Alabama judicial system in any way related to the plaintiff, Carter, or any other allegations in the complaint. I'm not aware of any other contracts by myself, Tony Buzbee, or the firm with the state of Alabama related to the allegations of the complaint or Doe beyond those outlined above. So it sounds like what they're trying to say is, hey, remove us from this lawsuit. I mean, obviously they have a motion to dismiss, but are they trying to get themselves removed from this lawsuit? Because if that's the case, then it's going to be fully on Jane Doe because she was in Alabama. So it's interesting that both of these were filed. And I wonder if they're going to amend this lawsuit and only have Jane Doe listed on this, which means she's going to be on her own. Oof. Yikes. And also, shout out to Cat Not Williams for this. She says, as one might guess from the Forney affidavit, Buzbee and Forney's focus heavily on the jurisdiction venue. And we're going to look at just the introduction of this response by Tony Buzbee and David Forney. And this is the motion to dismiss. Obviously, Jane Doe is mentioned in this as well. So what are they saying? Let's just read the introduction real quick. Defendants Tony Buzbee, David Forney, and Tony Buzbee law firm, collectively the Buzbee defendants, move this court to dismiss all claims against them because the court lacks personal jurisdiction, the venue is improper, and when the correct body of law is applied, the complaint fails to state a claim against the Buzbee defendants upon which relief can be granted. So they don't name Jane Doe. They don't name Jane Doe here because they're saying this is on her. If we're going Alabama, then hey, it's on her. Here we go. The introduction. This case was filed by a celebrity against his assault accuser, whom the plaintiff himself describes as suffering from personal and financial hardship. That is 1000% true. Just go look on YouTube. All the videos have been made and people saying, well, Jayz, he's guilty of something. Even after all this, it's insane. All right. And against her attorneys in retaliation for seeking to utilize the justice system to hold her alleged assailant accountable. And in this case, a California plaintiff has come to Alabama to assert claims against Texas defendants for something that happened in New York. The events giving rise to this litigation began in the fall of 2024 when defendant Jane Doe retained counsel in connection with her allegations that the plaintiff, Sean Corey Carter, better known as world famous performing artist Jayz, assaulted her alongside his longtime friend, Diddy. In 2000, when Doe was just 13, well, that's allegedly. All right. In October of 2024, Doe, represented by the Buzbee law firm, filed a suit in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York against Diddy and some of his business interests. The Southern District of New York action is how it's going to be referred to moving forward. Doe could have named Jayz in her original complaint, but did not because he wasn't there. Instead, to give Mr. Carter an opportunity to settle the claims. What? How nice of them. Without making them public, Doe, through her attorney, sent a letter to Mr. Carter's attorneys describing the claims and requested a confidential mediation. Instead of accepting Doe's invitation, Jayz said, no, we ain't doing that. He's to confidently discuss a settlement of her claims. Mr. Carter chose scorched earth, public harassment, and litigation. Seriously? Are you serious? That is not what happened. On November 18, 2024, Mr. Carter sued the Buzbee law firm and its principal, Mr. Buzbee, in Mr. Carter's home state of California, alleging that they were extorting him and intentionally causing him emotional distress. And that turned out to be true because none of these things in this lawsuit were true at all. Mr. Carter and his representatives also dispatched hordes of investigators to harass Doe, her friends and family, as well as the Buzbee law firm's current and former employees, clients, and other business contracts, and also try to coerce Buzbee's defendants, former clients, to sue them. Wow. Mr. Carter's mission was clear: to threaten, harass, intimidate, and financially punish Doe and her attorneys while peddling Mr. Carter's narrative to the media. I think they 1000% should be punished. Absolutely. For bringing up this fake claim, for making all these lies, putting in a legal document, Tony Buzbee bragging about how he's going to use the court of public opinion and media to make sure that Jayz pays. And now they want to act like the victim. Sorry, guys. If you want to go down this road, you're going to get embarrassed. And you were. And I'm glad Jayz stood on this. I don't know if I would have done it. I probably would have just written the check and been like, get out of my face. But thankfully we got to see and talk about how messed up the system is, because they tried it and now they're embarrassed. So don't act like you're a victim and saying that you're being threatened because Jayz said, I'm not going to let you just make up things about me. Understanding that Mr. Carter has no interest in a private resolution of the claims, Doe amended her complaint in the Southern District of New York action on December 8th of 2024 to add Mr. Carter as a defendant. Over the ensuing days, Mr. Carter's attorney filed so many unprofessional papers with the court that they received the following admonishment from the district judge. Basically, Judge Vargas said, I'm not changing the rules for y'all. Relax. All right. And we remember when she said that. Also admonishing Mr. Carter's counsel and their unacceptable failure to abide by the court's clear rules. Eventually, the relentless pressure that Mr. Carter and his associates placed upon Jane Doe became too much for her. Oh, poor thing. On February 4th, 2025, an agreement to resolve the litigation was reached between Doe and Mr. Carter through their attorneys. I hate how they phrased this. This is crazy. What was it? This is not true, man. Come on. They said an agreement to resolve the litigation was reached between Doe and Mr. Carter. So what was the agreement? Because all we saw was a dismissed lawsuit. Come on now. This is crazy. On February 4th, 2025, an agreement was reached to resolve the litigation between Doe and Mr. Carter through their attorneys, which included the voluntary dismissal of the Southern District of New York action. It seems like that was the only thing. It seems like Jayz said, hey, listen, we're going to take this all the way. You're going to get embarrassed and exposed because y'all see the Southern District of New York, as we just talked about in our last video, is not letting y'all run around here anonymously. So she's going to get exposed. Tony, you're going to get exposed even more than you have been already. And we're going to keep going on this. And they say, it's not worth it. We'll let it go. Notwithstanding this agreement, although Mr. Carter describes Doe as suffering from personal and financial hardship and having lost custody of her children, Mr. Carter, a wealthy celebrity, filed this litigation against Doe and her attorneys, the Buzbee defendants, and continues to threaten, harass, intimidate, and financially punish them. How? How is he financially punishing them? Mr. Carter's conduct is an attempt to diminish the reputation of the Buzbee defendants, who at all times were seeking to perform their roles as zealous advocates and who at all times were acting with the course and scope of their professional and legal obligations. If that's the case, why was this dismissed with prejudice? I'm not buying it. This case, an attempt by Mr. Carter to punish his accuser, as he should, and silence potential accusers, that's not on him, as well as discourage any attorney who may represent such victims, is precisely the type of retaliatory and bad faith litigation that courts across this country disfavor. Man, David, if y'all don't get up out of here, you are not a victim, sir. Y'all didn't do your due diligence. You misused the system. And then you went out and dismissed this lawsuit with prejudice. Come on, man. Let's not talk about how did he put it? Let's not talk about retaliatory and bad faith litigation when this lady straight up lied throughout the entirety of this lawsuit that went forward, cost Jayz money, not only in legal fees, but money based off of his reputation being dragged through the mud by this fake lawsuit. Man, I don't have time for this. I hate this type of stuff when people abuse these legal systems. Y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments and in the chat.